really fucking matter. There's like 4 things that matter, and they really fucking matter. I mean, objectively, I mean, you should care, especially you, if you thought about it for 5 fucking minutes.
Welcome to episode 37 of the Out of Voices podcast.
Woo.
We are your hosts, Keem and Esme.
Yay!
Oh, we've come off a roller coaster of a week. And we have survived, though barely.
Speak for yourself. I had a pretty good week.
Do you remember the first part of the week for you?
Well, no, I was, okay, never mind.
Okay.
You're good.
Uh-huh.
You're fine. Yes, you tell the truth.
Yes. Yes, I am right.
Yeah. It picked up towards the end there, though.
Yeah, it did. Some of us didn't pick up as much, but some of us have also been like at the movies almost every day this week.
It sounds like a good time to me.
Yeah, that's where I run off to now is the movies. Thanks to MoviePass.
You're gonna have to get them to sponsor us.
I was about to say they're not sponsoring the show, but my God, MoviePass is a great deal. It's $10 a month. One standard like definition movie can be seen a day, and when movie tickets are $16 in Brooklyn, movie tickets are $16 a piece.
That's stupid.
So my God, you can't get a better deal if you're like a movie fan. And I've been watching movies that I didn't like. I was like, oh, I wouldn't go see that in theaters. Now I can. So I can not focus on the shitty world we have to deal with.
Nice. Yeah, this world. This world.
We're not going to depress you guys today by going into our news segment because we have a very, very good and long interview with our guests, who are our guests and musical guests for the week. The Flying Machine Collective. Like I said, you guys are going to really enjoy that interview because we enjoyed it. We enjoyed it so much that it went on for a long time. And then Dallas, who is the drummer for the Flying Machine Collective, joined us for the sex segment, which started off with a listener question, thanks to the listener who provided my question, and then went completely off the rails. It gets rambly there for a minute, but I loved it. It was great. It was like it was something else. Like the whole show is like the people who are listening, you're going to enjoy it. Like I'm just going to put it out, say it. You're going to enjoy it because it's a great show following this.
Pretty fantastic.
Also, as Miss stated, today's sex segment came from a listener with a question.
Yes.
If any of you guys have more questions and you want to ask things on the show, do it because it's kind of awesome.
Please let me geek out about things. I will geek out at you. I totally will do that. Please ask me questions. I love answering people's questions about sex stuff.
That is, and I love hearing Esme answer people's questions about sex stuff. Also, I love asking questions about sex stuff. So yeah, please bring it on. We love it. But yeah, see, it's weird. We're doing this brief open up without the news segment and just kind of doing the whole banter thing. So,
Yes.
So what have we covered? go get Movie Pass, people. This is an unpaid sponsorship just because it's so awesome. Also, it gives you the chance to see shitty movies that you really don't have to pay for. So, yeah, you can even go see Boo 2, Tyler Perry's Boo 2, Madea Halloween.
Oh, Lord.
I'll take it back. Don't go see that. Don't ever go see that. Don't give that man money. Stop giving Tyler Perry money. Stop.
If we all just ignore him, he'll go away.
He's like herpes. No, that's not right, because you can't ignore herpes. What can you ignore and it goes away?
A cold.
Now, you can't ignore a cold. If you don't treat a cold, it'll go away, but it's going to suck.
Acne. No, that doesn't work either.
Yeah, that doesn't work either. I don't think there's anything that you can ignore and it just goes away.
A sunburn.
Can you ignore a sunburn?
Yeah.
And I feel like if you ignore it, that can lead to like melanoma.
No, I mean, there's once you have a sunburn, there's nothing that you can do that will prevent any further damage.
Yeah, but you got to put stuff on it to heal it.
No. Nothing you can do will heal a sunburn any faster. It'll just keep the skin. If you put lotion or something on it, right, it'll keep it from being so dry, but it won't heal it any faster.
I wouldn't know. I mean, I've been sunburned a few times because I'm light-skinned. But, we, the melanated, don't have to deal with that much.
Yeah, no, like, you can pretty much ignore it, right? As it heals, it gets a little itchy, but it doesn't really affect your life. It's just kind of there, and then it kind of goes away. But it's not like by ignoring it, you're making it worse. That's not how it works. Like, once it's done, and then you have to give it time.
Time to heal.
Yep. Time to go the fuck away.
Speaking of skin things, I got a new tattoo.
Yay! It looks so cool!
Yeah. So, these are things that are happening. But before we continue to ramble on, we can go ahead and introduce our guests for today with their music. They are the Flying Machine Collective,
Yay.
A group of very talented musicians and individuals who have collected themselves in Brooklyn that I discovered randomly because this is what I'm doing in Brooklyn, kind of just wandering about randomly. And they are excellent. They this past Friday, they just dropped their first EP.
Which is awesome.
It is awesome. We listened to it yesterday and loved it. Like, awesome. And of course, we're going to have links to that so you can get your hands on that. But like I said, they're incredible musicians, awesome people, very, very entertaining. So without further ado, here is their music. And then afterward, be prepared for a very, very entertaining interview. Enjoy.
Yay.
With the funky hypnotic. Who you gonna trust to fly with?
Ain't it love like the sun coming up on a new day? Ain't the hate still faker than toupees? Ain't the people in the street the same as you and me? Ain't it a shame that telling truth's unusual to see? Fuck what it used to be. What use is it to you? We discuss unification but never choose to do. Been going round in circles like some hula hoops. Government been stomping on us youngins like the Cooper Troop. The world is changing fast, can't stop to look, make moves with speed. That's why people like you and me need a true belief in what we choose to do to help us get through the week. So easy to lose your cool, so hard to feel truly free. I let it go. Take a second, smell of roses, succulent fragrances dance in circles while it bless my nose. Life is gonna be waiting there to test my goals, but fuck it, cause right now I feel incredible.
What's the worst that could happen? What you'd expect to see, expect from me. What's the worst I could listen? What you think you'd hear sitting next to me. Oh, it doesn't make much sense at all. Oblivion at beck and call. You change your name, but everything just stays the same. I'm torn at the waist. I cannot seem to find my legs. I'm running out of space, and soon I will be.
Figure out the words.
This won't change.
Started working in reverse.
It's okay.
Throw the coals on the kindling.
Hold the flame.
Embrace the heat until it's dwindling.
Win the day.
Innovative and destructive.
Lion's home.
Find a way to try and function.
Life alone.
Never seem to get along well.
Well.
Give it up and go to retail. Sell.
What it's like being broken. I can't do anything, and I've got no consistent thoughts.
And I wish I could have fixed it like a welder to the metal. I guess it had to happen, get the letter from the devil. And then settle.
And welcome back to our interview segment. We are happy today to welcome our musical guests and, luckily, our guests on the show, Flying Machine Collective.
Yay!
What's up, guys?
In my early adventures in Brooklyn, I haven't been able to get out much, but one of the times I did get out, I happened to catch these guys' show on a rooftop for the Say Yes Electric Collective, I think.
Right.
It was a excellent show, an incredible show. That night, through a haze of alcohol, I decided it's like I need to get in contact with them and bring them on. So everyone, welcome them to our show. You guys care to introduce yourselves to our listeners?
Yes. I'm Dally Plums. I'm on the drums.
And I'm, well, I don't have such a fancy name, but I'm Chris. I play rhythm guitar and also sing lead vocals.
And I'm Jeffy Waves. I am the lyricist and rapper of the band.
Yay.
Awesome. But for anything, I want listeners to know that you guys recently, just yesterday, because this is being recorded on Saturday, yesterday you guys dropped an EP.
Mm-hmm. Our first EP, actually.
Right.
Very awesome.
Yay.
So you care to tell us about what kind of music you do? So, well, our listeners probably would have just heard some of your music because we just played some.
Yes.
Guys, give us a little rundown on what you're putting out there.
I mean, when we say collective, we really mean it in the fullest sense of the word. I think everybody has a creative spirit that was strong in them before they joined the Flying Machine, and I think joining the Flying Machine, they saw an opportunity to nurture that. I do bring a lot of the songwriting, and I like to bring a hip hop rap feel to things, but you get in the room with all these really creative, interesting musicians, and what ends up coming out on the other side is something very interesting and unique and its own organism.
And kind of like to jump off of that, whereas Jeff says that he kind of brings the hip-hop sensibilities to the band, I think perhaps me and the other guitarist, who's not here today, but Jules.
Shouts to Jules.
We kind of bring the more, I guess, a little bit more of the hard-edged sound to the band. We both come from a background of playing a lot of punk rock music, diving in and out of hardcore and metal as well. And when we get together and songwrite, all of these things, kind of in a chaotic way, are mixed together. Mm-hmm. And what comes out is the Flying Machine.
Fusion.
Yeah, a lot of fusion of genres, for sure.
I really noticed that seeing your show, just like sitting there picking out all the different parts. It's like this music has so much to it that I was like really impressed. It's a sound that you don't hear because it is such a collective of different styles, different genres, just kind of mashed together in this. In a bid not to sound overly poetic, beautiful chaos of such.
Since when have you tried not to sound overly poetic?
Wow, you're making me blush over here, dude. You totally got the point.
Hey, I'm just saying I enjoyed it. I very much enjoyed it. So, if you don't mind me asking, how did you guys end up coming together?
Ooh, that's a long story.
Yo, that's a bit of a long one, man.
We'll try to condense.
It all starts at SUNY Purchase College.
It's weird. All right, I'll try to condense this. All right, me and our last guitarist,
who still writes a lot of music for the band.
He does. He's a producer. He produces from Buffalo,
and then we turned it into our own thing.
We're just hanging out a lot. Kind of both being sad boys going through a breakup, writing songs. All of a sudden, I had to go on the People's Court with Judge Marilyn Milian.
Really?
Yeah, I was working with some producers. They tried to sue me. They were some real scumbags. I said, no, thank you. They took me to small claims court. The People's Court found the case, thought it was hilarious, invited me on. I bring Adam, the guitarist, with me. Play a song, win the case. All of a sudden, we feel like, fuck it, we've got national TV traction. Let's keep going. Next thing we know, this Swedish guy gets, dumped off in Adam's living room.
That would be me, by the way.
By his girlfriend. And she's like, do something with him. He can't Sweden. He's lovely, but he has no friends.
Because I'm in a new country. I didn't know anyone but my girl. Stranger in a strange land.
She was friends with Adam as well. Anyway, Adam hears Chris, I guess, drunkenly singing to himself in the middle of the night, and Adam can't get to sleep. So he's like, you know what? I like this guy's voice. It's raw. It sounds like he's singing to the stars. Chris joins in. I get suspended from school for cheating on a test. I got kicked out of my dorm room. I was living with my best friends. Try to keep up, please. I'm sorry about this.
No, this is awesome, man. This is an awesome story.
I'm suspended. I get kicked out of my dorm, but I was living with my best friends, so I go back to visit them, and in my bed is Dallas Palumbo. Freaking.
That's right. Fresh into my time living at school and adjusting to life with 3 other dudes living in the same room, just becoming real friends. Start hearing legends of Jeffy Waves and his interesting stories. Then I hear he's coming to visit, and we hang out, and he drags me to Adam's house one night.
That's not how it happened.
All right.
Okay.
So, Dallas, actually, you're going to look better now. You're going to look better than before. Dallas was a really generous person for somebody who didn't know me and had only heard stories of how crazy I am. Lent me his keys, let me sleep in his bed, which used to be my bed. Literally, I woke up in the bed. Dallas was sitting in the chair, looking at me like he fell asleep in his chair and let me sleep in bed. Didn't wake me up. I don't know him.
I didn't even know.
I don't even know Dallas at the time. And I'm like completely taking advantage of his kindness. He lends me his key. I end up chilling at Adam's. And instead of bringing him his key back like a decent human being, I'm like, you know what? Come get the key from me. I'm hanging out at my friend's apartment. And through. And we're jamming on some songs. And he looks at the drum set and goes, Jay, you mind if I play? And he played and he could play. And Adam was like, yo, bring him in. So then the 4 of us, fast forward 5 years, some crazy, hiatuses taken musically. We end up meeting Jules and Karen, who are the
guitarist and keyboard player, respectively. They kind of made it into the band through various friends, hanging out around the same people.
The very second time I ever met Karen, he played a show with us. Like the first show the Flying Machine had played
in
like 2 years.
2 years,
because we took like a nice little chunky break. And then we were like, hey, there's a show coming together. We have a slot. Let's do Flying Machine music. And let's bring it back. But we had no bassist. And I was playing another show with Karen the same day, and he came through with me. Was at the practice the same day. We played the show, and to this day, he's been playing bass on the keys as he also plays the keyboard, just like perfectly in sync with us, and also does backup singing. So he's an incredible musician.
He really is an incredible musician. Yeah, he levels the band in a very, very well needed way.
And then as far as Jules, he joined the band when I was just like at a show randomly. I was actually there because I was trying to meet up with a girl who worked close by. Very random. But I ended up at the show, and they have a big time slot, and this person's making live beats. And Jules is kind of up there just like soloing over the beats, and I asked if I can rap. And I rapped, and while I was rapping, I noticed Jules was copying my rhythms with his leads, and we started like playing rhythms to each other. I invite him through to a jam session, and he ends up jamming. And Jules was one of those dudes. It was funny. As soon as everybody met Jules, they found like something else about him that they really liked. He's just he came in, and it was like he'd been our friend the whole time. And I think with Karen, it took a little bit longer to warm up, but I think Kay is a really brilliant, interesting person for a lot of other reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And then from there, playing gigs around the city, trying to perfect our sound a little bit. we started recording the EP earlier this summer with the help of a friend of mine who came over from Sweden.
Yo, shouts to Emerald.
Shout outs to him as well for, bearing with us. And
we recorded for 5 days straight in my basement, and we made some really heartfelt tracks. Like, I guess in like the older style of recording, they wanted to be like everybody is playing at the same time to get that unified feel, like that classic feel. That's what we have on the track. Luckily enough, like especially in Chill, you get like the sound of the basement is what he said he was going for.
Yeah, which I think really translated very well.
And he's just like another member of the band, the way he affected those tracks. He really gave it, like we put all the food on the plate, and then he like made a really, really nice, colorful, artistic arrangement with the palettes.
And I think in a lot of ways what bleeds into that is, and why we choose to append the name Collective to the Flying Machine, is because that trajectory has happened from the beginning and still continues to happen. That when someone is able to bring their own unique sensibility, whether it be recording things, playing the guitar, rapping, if someone can contribute something that fits, we try to incorporate it. And that was kind of the philosophy from the start, and it has continued to this day.
That's incredible. Like, incredible story, like good music. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. One thing I noticed in you guys' music and checking out your website and your blog, you guys talk a lot about the social issues that are happening right now, and one of the main functions of this podcast is we discuss and advocate the fight for like social justice issues and such. You guys care to talk about how the social issues impact your music and your stances on like some of the things that are happening right now, like calling the NFL protests and of course everyone's favorite human Cheeto in the White House.
I mean, put it like this. I think there's two elements. I think Jeff should start because he writes most of the lyrics and has the biggest say in the lyrical aspects of the music. And that takes a political edge as well. So why don't he start and I can speak to the blog and so forth after that. Okay.
Sounds good.
Hey, as far as like the political stuff, it's like tough to know where to start. Like, I've always been a weird dude as far as like social groups and not fitting in and, being a white person that grew up in a diverse community and then actually just, I've always been a weird dude. So I kind of like didn't fit in with a lot of like the white people that I was like socially pushed towards. And then it gave me the unique advantage of being like, all right, well, fuck this race thing of you have to be friends with the people who look like you. And then I had a whole bunch of different friends and it woke me up to a lot of different stuff. And then fast forward to, these social justice movements. And I've already been like, yeah, my friends have been telling me about this and I'm trying to, incorporate it into the music and be as good an ally as I can and unlearn a lot of these behaviors. And I just like to talk about it. I like to talk about like, the struggles of the world because I really hurt when I see this stuff, like no matter who's going through it. It's just, I just feel strongly that musicians want to talk about just like bitches and money and fucking, they just want to brag. And it's just like, to me, I've never felt the need to brag about that type of shit. I'll talk my shit, but I want to make something positive with the music. And I feel like that's one of the reasons I have a great team with me, is because they see the positivity that I'm trying to make.
Yeah, we all have very similar political leanings, I think. You know, we were all big Bernie Sanders supporters. We'll all fuck Trump at the show, and people are like, Trump! Yeah, fuck Trump!
Yeah, it's a good chant to get.
And I think we're all really kind of, even though we are like three white males sitting here, I feel incredibly connected to the diverse culture of New York City. And like, I feel really powerfully emotions for the injustices felt by people in this country right now, because it's not fair. And like the rare times that it's affected me, it's like so unfortunate. I mean, obviously not racial injustice, but just injustice in general. When someone's being a rude dick to you, if that's based on something that you can't even control, it's like, fuck that shit. That's completely opposite of our entire vibe. And, you know, we've been doing this even amongst things like, are you a good musician? Are you a bad musician? Like, there's some jams where, like, you'll go and try and play. People really vibe you if you can't keep up. And they'll, like, almost try and crack on your spirit for you even getting up there and having the balls to get up there. And we're more the type of cats who are like, good job. You know, like, we appreciate your effort. Like, let's talk, let's connect, let's be interconnected rather than trying to be divided. Because I think we can all see that the powers that be really want us to be divided. And
we're striving for the opposite.
Yes, striving for the opposite. Absolutely.
And you referenced the blog briefly. The blog is something we haven't really cultivated a lot. It became an outlet for me. I usually work as a reporter. That's my day job. I work as a reporter for the New York Daily News. And while I was going through the immigration process, like I mentioned earlier, I'm originally from Sweden, I had to go on leave. But I still felt the need to write, and still felt the need to kind of express myself politically, and the blogs are a great opportunity to do that. So, you know, I keep up with current events, and then, of course, the blog kind of reflects that. So on the blog, like you just said, I bring up things such as the NFL protests, Trump's various echoes of fascism. And
directly affecting his life right now, by the way.
Well, yeah. Whereas with my green card application, it has been severely delayed because of the Trump administration and its policy on immigration. But at the same time, I consider myself extremely privileged, because coming from Sweden, you don't face the type of difficulties that someone who, say, are fleeing violence in Syria. Sure, my green card application was delayed, but that's a very mild nuisance if you compare it to what a lot of other immigrants are currently dealing with in this country.
And also, just interestingly, I've just been working for a program called Vocal NY. And, you know, I'd like to shout it out because they're doing a lot of great work for people who have HIV and AIDS, people who are addicted to needles, and people who are in Rikers Island right now, who are just stuck there. I learned the other day that 80% of the people in Rikers Island are held there because they can't pay bail and they have not been convicted of a crime. So, you know, just shouts to mass incarceration, because it sucks ass. And, you know, yeah, politically we're really driven that way. I feel like it is a part of our spirit musically.
In a big way. Shouts out to our stage jams, by the way. Just wanted to plug the jam real quick. We get together at the Wayward Social. We're getting together this Wednesday there from 9:30 to 12:30. And we bring a full backline and a drum set. And we're inviting musicians and vocalists to come join us. It's no cover. You can just sit down and watch. You don't have to buy a drink. And it's a fun night, you know?
It is, and it extends that sensibility even further about, you know,
community.
It doesn't matter if you're a stellar guitarist or a stellar saxophone player or not. If you feel like playing, if you have the guts to come up there, we are always welcome to anyone who's able to make it and willing to play.
That is awesome. I'm actually going to have to try to get out to that at some point. I usually have class on Wednesdays till late, but if there's one class day that I could get out there, I'm definitely going to try to make it.
Definitely, we'd love to have you. It's in Bushwick, like Dallas just mentioned, Wayward Social. It's a tiny little dive bar up by the Morgan L train stop.
That works out just fine for me over here.
Man, now I want to make it up. Man, I'm too far away.
One of the major things we do on this podcast, and we're always looking for musicians to have on the show, especially musicians that have things to say, have messages in their music that they want to get out there. Because as our listeners have heard 1,000 times, that's what this show is about. It's about getting voices that will normally not be heard. And
Keem, you know what I just realized?
What?
These guys are a first.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think we should mention you guys are our first band that first musician that is out of the South.
Yeah, outside of the South.
We're on. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, because Ash is based in Brooklyn now, but he's originally from Memphis.
Right.
Yo, shouts to Memphis. Yeah. I've been there.
I lived there.
Amazing food. Shouts to Memphis. Amazing food.
Ooh, where did you go when you were here? So that I can tell you where to go next time instead.
Oh, man, it was 6 years ago. I was road tripping and smoking a lot of weed. I don't think I would remember. But I liked it. I had a good time in the South.
Mm-hmm.
The South is one of those places. Memphis is great.
Memphis is great.
Memphis is great. The rest of the South, yeah, it's good for a visit, but don't stay long. It's one of those things.
Yeah, Memphis is a really good place. But
you guys are our first. We're hopefully getting more artists from all around the country to come on. That actually, as me bringing up Ash, I don't know if you. We have a friend of the show who's been on, who's a rapper who goes by Ash Leon.
All right.
And I was just wondering if there was had you guys, because we're all up in the same area. Had he come across you guys' radar?
You said Ashley Ohm?
Yeah.
Ash
Leon. Yeah. ASH then LEON.
Leon, like the French.
Yeah.
Like Leon, like a lion.
Ash Lion?
Exactly.
Like Ash Lion Kingmaker over here?
I can safely say I've never heard of him.
Yeah, I can't say that.
Very large artistic community out here. We're always meeting new people. And there's so many really great underground shows with just beats and rappers. And, it's this wonderful vibe. So you could walk into many different shows in one evening with all sorts of people who are breaking into the world. And, yeah.
That's one of the things I enjoyed about the Say Yes event I went to and where I saw you guys. It was such a really diverse music, diverse acts going on, from music to comedy to spoken word to dance. It was just this wide array of things happening. So all these just different and unique things just being put on display, and it was very spectacular. one of the things that I marvel at coming from Mississippi all the way here in the past couple months is that New York is just so diverse and so expressive. Like, everyone is very expressive of who they are and not afraid to just put it all out there. And it's something that I am continuously in awe of.
For sure, and that's something that I think I can speak for all of us there. That's something that we relate to as well, and something that we always try to incorporate in the band, and something we try to promote in the band.
I wouldn't say not afraid. Don't be in awe of me then. If you think I'm not afraid to put it out there.
Oh, no, we're afraid. No, that's not what I'm saying.
I'm scared as fuck most of the time.
Oh, yeah, I'm nervous a lot of the time. But it's the fact that you have the even ability and
yeah, I don't know, man. Sometimes I just feel like this is what we're supposed to do. Like, what do you mean we would stop doing this? That would be crazy.
Right.
Like, we love doing this, and we've been doing it for so long. Like, you know, we say even when we were like in a hiatus, like the three of us were still in a different band.
Yeah.
Just doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's been consistent for years.
I think that's also why we're still in New York City, is because we're the type of people who appreciate that kind of event with artists expressing themselves and people getting into it and connecting with the performance. Because, you know, there's still the club culture in New York City, but you probably find that all across the country. But I don't know if it's going to be as easy to find a diverse poetry jam show on the rooftop of Brooklyn for $3 entry if you're, you know, in the...
If you're in Mississippi. I mean, I've never been to Mississippi, so I don't know, but I can assume that it's a lot easier to find that outlet in, say, in Brooklyn or in Queens or in Manhattan than it is in a lot of other places. And like Dallas said, definitely a pushing point for why we're still here.
Right.
I don't know. I just found out about a standing, like, spoken word rap comedy, like, event in Memphis for no, it's $5 cover, $3 if you're performing, and it happens every week. So
wow.
People need an outlet everywhere.
Yeah, man. There's a lot of that.
I want to go to that show.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. Don't go hungry though, because it takes place. It happens in a restaurant that, like, they are not set up for a crowd. Like, it takes them apparently their food is amazing, but it takes forever for them to get your order out because they only have like one guy cooking. That
was the thing you went to with the Memphis Feminist Collective, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
That was really fun. And then they found out that we were all feminists, and then they kept, like, apologizing for their, like, sexist jokes. And we're like, dude, we're here to laugh. It's funny. Just, like, calm down. We're not gonna yell at you. Just calm down.
Just do your thing. They're charging the stage.
It's cool. It's very important that there's feminist groups, and it's cool that you guys are striving to have a sense of humor about a very serious topic.
Yeah, true.
There is it's hard to maintain a sense of humor about especially in the climate that is right now. There's as Esme can attest, it's been a rough couple weeks. So trying to maintain has definitely been an issue, but I mean,
as an artist, it would be my absolute worst nightmare. Like that Vegas shooting happened at a concert in the middle of sharing good vibes and everybody singing along to their favorite country song, and just to like see that is just be like awful. Probably wouldn't perform again for like a long time. It would take a long hiatus.
Nah, I'd pressure Dallas. I'd be texting him all the time. Be like, no, Dal, we have a gig Saturday. I don't think there's gonna be another shooter. but it's not funny. But
Right.
But I think it's very important to just keep talking about it and to never be discouraged, like the way the NFL has been with this Colin Kaepernick thing, and the way that a lot of people like to pervert the news. And
Sure. I'm so proud of the NFL players for standing up and not standing up, actually.
Yeah.
Kneeling with him, because we definitely had a conversation a few months ago, and it's like it was a kind of a normal opinion to be like, nah, they're definitely Colin Kaepernick's just going to disappear because the NFL has all the power to control his contract, and who's going to stand up? Who's going to do this after the same thing? And to see them doing that is nice. It's a nice
To keep that going. Yeah, it's very
unexpected
important.
and powerful move.
like a weekly reminder.
Not to be silenced.
Yep.
I think the players finally realized that the NFL makes its money from them, from what they do,
Right.
and with that they have the rights to exercise their beliefs, what they feel strongly about, without it being silenced. So as this support grew, I think more and more players came to that realization that no, you can't silence us just because you don't want to see what we have to say. And that has been excellent thing. And seeing the support from people in general of it.
Some people are so ignorant, though. I saw something, Mike Ditka, he gave an interview. He was asked about this NFL thing, and he said, I don't know of any racial oppression in the last 100 years, so I don't really know what the big deal is.
Ditka might have just been asleep for the past 100 years or something.
Yep.
Did they roll him out of like a coffin or something, like a vampire, that he's been asleep all these years?
Yeah.
And I'm so
Been sleeping in some coffin somewhere.
Right.
so tired of the bullshit talking points perverting the news.
Right.
24-hour news cycle is an amazing means of control, because they just point to what they want to point at, and so many issues under the radar.
Mm-hmm.
That's it for them. It's all about control. It's all about controlling the narrative and getting people to watch.
Yep. Ratings are king.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And because ratings are king, we have a reality star as president.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, that's right. Someone came out from that.
Yeah, no.
That speaks to some very messed up stuff that I'm not even going to go into right now.
That election was like traumatizing as like an American citizen who like wants to be a part of the political process, but like was just so sidelined by the intentions of these two parties that I was reduced to nothing, to meaninglessness by like arbitrary bureaucratic rules not allowing me to participate in the primary vote, even though I wanted to switch to be a Democrat to vote for Bernie. And then it's infuriating. At our college, actually, when Hillary came, there was like 500 kids outside of her place, like yelling, like "Fuck you, Bernie, let's go!" That was where they did the walkout in the middle of her campaign while she was speaking. They all got up and like flipped her off and left.
Yeah, I mean, somebody needed to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's crazy because the people that blackballed the youth in this election it's funny because they turn their back on the same youth vote that, got Barack Obama elected, and it's funny because then they turn around and they say, your generation doesn't do anything to affect the political system. This is your fault because you didn't vote. Well, it's kind of like, yeah, well, that's because, we see past the 7 p.m. news and like,
right.
We look for our information, and, but it's a crazy world too. I was saying yesterday that everybody, regardless of political side, is frightened and frustrated because you have no control or understanding of exactly how far this technology thing can go. And as people, we got to keep pushing this technology thing because it can save lives and it can do so much good. But it seems like with every advancement comes another thing that is used to push toxicity into society.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, it feels like we're just pushed in a never-ending war sometimes, I think, on whoever's side. And technology is this thing where it's like, we can't control it. So.
But it's our friend right now. Like, we're talking. This is amazing.
Yeah.
For us to speak through, like, all across the country and.
Technology is one of those things that as it helps us grow, it also will inevitably take us apart. Just because.
Try not to be poetic out here.
Yeah, I'm trying. But we are quickly moving to a point where, quote unquote, values that the traditional values are coming into conflict with the push of technology, and that conflict can and will likely eventually become catastrophic. Just because, we look at the, and I hate to go into this, but look at the spread of the quote unquote alt-right, not just in the U.S., but around the globe. Far-right groups are getting more power.
This alt-right. I never heard of the alt-right. All I know about are these Nazis and Nazi sympathizers.
Exactly.
Never heard of the alt-right thing.
Exactly. Like, it's insane. Like, a few years ago, like, within our lifetimes, within our adult lifetimes, this wouldn't even have been a thing. Like, Nazis in 2017 does not make any sense. It doesn't. We've already had this discussion. But
and it's like unfortunately ironic that they use the same means of connection that has been used for powerful good, like in the Egyptian revolution, they used Facebook to get together. And even now we use Facebook as a unifying force. People use Reddit for comedy and stuff, and they just like pervert it. And I think it's really the administration's like signaling that this is okay, that they're just all coming out of the woodwork now.
It's also a lot of dark money, though. It's a lot of
dark money.
Yeah, it's a lot of money from corporations being filtered into these universities that is basically pushing the universities to hire people to teach these thinking processes, and like, it's people who are, then pushing this money into, these alt-right programs and into propaganda. And this is like people that we know, like this is the Coca-Cola Corporation and people like that who are
Koch brothers.
Yeah, they're literally funding these right-wing institutions, and it's the same way that Christian and Catholic institutions fund these Christian and Catholic lawyers who then go fight against women's right to abortion and things like that. So I'm just really trying to bring awareness there too. Corporations are having way too much shadow money going against us, and I think it's very important that people get involved now more than ever.
That's capitalism in a nutshell right there. It's who has the money controls the power, and as long as you can buy it, you have the control. So, like, it's always something to be constantly aware of, that the things that happen, it does have money behind it. It does have the machine of capitalism and corporate funds pushing agendas.
In a capitalist society, if something is happening, somebody is profiting.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that you know who.
Exactly. And we're so addicted to consuming entertainment media that it's really easy to forget. And I think that's, to bring it back to what we even do, that's why indie art is very important, because it's by the people, for the people, speaking just a voice of release, I guess, or, share the story of your...
without that filter of corporate money, or without the filter of the media, it's kind of there's no mediation. It's just trying to provide this art form as clear-cut and as straightforward as can be.
Yep.
We might like you to buy a shirt or something with our art, but we're not going to mind control you into doing it.
If you want to buy a shirt, great.
Yeah.
Be fashion forward. Get a shirt. You don't have to buy a shirt, but if you want to look good, get a shirt.
If you want to look good, consider buying one of our shirts.
We don't even have it, actually.
Well,
but
soon. It's in the works, exactly.
These hypothetical shirts.
Buy one of our hypothetical shirts. They'll look great on you.
Get one for free in your mind.
I think we just earned a title for this episode: hypothetical shirts.
Love that.
All right. Esme, is there any other questions you would like to ask? Because I'm out of questions, actually.
You're out of questions? Oh, I
Yes.
was really enjoying this conversation about technology, where I had a conversation where let's talk about something other than the band. I don't know. let's have a band on and talk about other shit. Whatever.
I enjoy doing that, though.
We're
It's
philosophers too.
Exactly. We're not just a band. It branches out just like this show. I can imagine it takes on a lot of different forms. It's not just, even though you have a band on, the conversation kind of shapes itself.
It would feel socially irresponsible if we sat up here and told you about the time Chris came in drunk and smashed roast beef into the rug.
Right.
No, tell me about that. That's a story that I want.
Slam into the bottom of a pool face first, we might, as socially responsible as we
those are
could.
Interesting stories, but they're also not important stories.
Let's talk about the relative importance of mental health and human connection in a time where every higher power in the United States is seeking to divide us.
Right.
So I can justify anything, for real. I will justify all of the funny stories.
They were just fucked up.
Well, there are connections to each other as well, if you think about it in that way. What really binds us is all of our crazy experiences. We all lived together in college for a little while, and we have plenty of crazy stories from back in those days. And it kind of makes us like brothers.
Yeah.
But I definitely saw something about how depression is really very emblematic of being isolated and just feeling isolated as well. And it's ironic. You can have all your, friends on Xbox and 500 friends on Facebook, but you feel so disconnected because, you're not using it to connect with anybody. You're just kind of using it to put your own life in perspective by looking at other people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you'll feel the positive things that they post, got a new car, have a baby, but I'm happy about it, which is, I guess, good.
I mean, I hear that that's a thing that people do, right? Like, is want children? Okay, good for them. Good.
Yeah, someone's got to do it, I guess. If we're gonna keep going as a society, but
they can make their choices, and I'll make mine. That's fine.
Someone's got to breed.
Can't wait to play this interview for Dallas's kid in like 25 years. Like, he didn't want you.
Oh, you're a jerk.
My parents always loved to tell me I was an accident. So
What?
it's okay, There's still love there. If it's love is there in the relationship, it's all good.
No. I look forward to being evil Uncle Jeff.
All right. You know what's interesting about technology? Is porn and technology.
Oh, man.
I'll just jump in.
Just throw that out there?
Because, as a 13-year-old kid with access to, like, all sorts of shit, you have no, and then
Tell me how you
not
really
many
feel, Dallas.
female connections in your life. Your mind and your ability to form these connections is hindered. Your, like, sexual thoughts are kicked into, like, rampant overdrive. And then fast forward to 3D virtual glasses or whatever.
Oh,
Like,
Jesus.
Dallas is already
Level
planning his
burger.
investment.
Well,
Wait,
Well,
no, I'm going to have to look up what episode that was. I had a whole rant about porn. You don't even know. Which is that porn is awesome, but you need to pay for your porn and also look up feminist porn.
yeah.
So, but also pay for your porn. For real.
Right. So that the
Paying for
people
your
are-
porn is how people continue to be able to make good porn.
Pay for your music as well, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
folds in
Exactly. Pay for the media that you consume so that people can continue to make it.
Exactly.
So,
Good point. Otherwise, I guess it might go be funded by the shadow monies of which we just spoke.
I always felt like the gentleman over at Bang Bros could really, just to utilize my $30 a month.
Yeah, they can buy a better Bang bus.
see, there's your problem if you're getting your porn at Bang Bros. There is so much better porn out there. Guys, there's so much better porn.
Could you give an example?
Send
I'm
us
not
links.
Crash Pad.
The what?
Crash Pad.
Crash Pad.
Yes.
Dallas is pulling out
Dallas
his
is
phone.
taking out his phone right now.
Crash Pad. Or really anything that's put out by Pink and White Studios. Because Crash Pad started on its own, and then Pink and White Studios, like, developed around it, and now there's, like, 6 different franchises owned by Pink and White Studios. Or Lust Cinema. Look up Lust Cinema.
Lust is good. I can attest.
Oh, I saw this girl on Netflix on that show about porn. I think they did a whole episode about female porn producers and how they're trying to bring a more sex positive and like healthy, like erotic experience to a video, not just like the kind of like fetishizing power porn or
Right.
like
Exactly.
or tutor porn, like
What is that?
this shit that kind of
What is the little girl on her tutor porn?
it's just a genre. There's different genres,
Okay, yeah, no, I
I wouldn't
didn't.
be surprised. There's piss genre. All right. This is I'm on the website now actually for the Erica Less.
Ask me, how does every time we have a musician on,
This is all
they end up looking up like something sexual online? Every time.
It's just part of my like elusive charm, I guess. Whatever.
I think musicianship is kind of like inherently sexual in a way that it's kind of like, look at me be good at something, yeah. And,
I mean that sounds like exactly like all of the musicians that I know, except many of them also have like crippling like anxiety and self-doubt.
Yep, that sounds
So
about right.
they say, so they're like, look at me be good at things, except no, don't look at me because I'm terrible at everything.
It's hard.
Until you're on a stage, and then you're like, look at me because I'm awesome.
I can't, because I've met some really people who make really like amazingly creative, beautiful artwork that, also struggle with depression and anxiety. So like, I would never want to discount those people's journey, but I also feel like personally, like you can't just beat yourself up all the time. One thing I'm pretty grateful for Dallas for, because he actually studies yoga and, Buddhism and Qigong and meditation and all this stuff, is he always gives me, positive guidance. And I think it's very difficult, but you have to find the positivity in your life, no matter what.
I have a difficult time with that. So, like, that is something that I definitely needed to hear.
Meanwhile, Dallas is getting deep into this lustcinema.com.
Yeah, he's like 15 scrolls deep.
Good.
Yep.
Good.
Super diverse. I really appreciate all the options there. Thanks for turning me on to that.
No problem. That's part of the thing that I do with my life.
Last time it was Ash and Bad Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Then, and before that, Rico and
Dental Dams. It was Dental Dams.
And Dental Dams.
This is what I do with my life.
Good.
It's important. It's important work.
Yeah, it is. Someone has to do it.
Yeah. Actually, to talk about the positivity thing, it's like working with a band of sometimes 7 people. If we can get everybody.
Sometimes 9.
Yeah, depending on the day.
People show up and they bring their baggage with them, and like it's so important that we can shake that off and like get on the same page sonically, like, and emotionally to like connect, because like our songs they do go to a lot of different emotional timbres, and like that involves us being with that. Yeah. If we're not, it's noticeable, I think, and we fall out of sync. And so it's been a journey to like connect with each other as friends, and to be able to read each other's, emotions, and what do you need right now? How can we like focus on what we're doing instead of what's causing negative feelings?
Yeah, bouncing off of that, there was this time that Chris was just feeling like he wanted to open the night with this great song we have on the EP called Funky Arrow. And just like, I had just been having a go of it in my life with some, people and things, and struggling for money. And I was just like not ready to get as deep as I get on that song. Like when I feel like I do that song right, I'm really in my feelings on that shit. Like it's the only way that can be executed is from, like a true, like my core. And he was like, let's do it first. And I was like, I don't feel like it. And, these things come up and you kind of get over it, and we explain to each other how we feel. And, my side of it, it's only my side of it. Chris would tell you that story completely differently.
Probably.
They were holding that laugh in.
Good that we can laugh at it,
It's
just minor bumps in the road of any relationship takes work,
Whether it involves 7 band members or just one other significant other, yeah, for sure.
They're all our significant others. You know what I mean?
In our band, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
We're all a bunch of significant others.
In fact, we're changing our band name to the Significant
Others. I actually think that's a great band name.
I don't want to, and I don't even want to put anybody on blast in a bad way, but I feel like one thing the Flying Machine has always benefited from is being extremely open-minded friends, and like being really, open to each other's differences, and being open to each other's shortcomings as much as being positive to each other's strengths and nurturing each other's perceived weaknesses. And, you know, I think it's really led to some amazing opportunities. You know, I think that maybe a lot of people wouldn't be open-minded enough to listen to somebody and have somebody join their band who, no offense, might struggle with the stutter, or like Will does, or somebody who might live with autism like our keyboard Karen does. And I think that these are two of like the greatest men I know, and I think it's really a beautiful thing that the Flying Machine's been so open-minded and been great friends to each other, to the point where we can, you know, end up working with these amazing human beings. And I think it's just a very important thing to be open-minded to people who are different from you, and, you know, give people a chance to get to know them, because I sure as hell have the most shortcomings, and, you know, everybody has their weaknesses, but I think it really speaks to being open to each other that we get to play music with someone like Will here, who's when I'm telling you he's a genius, I'm not understating it. He's one of those, you know.
Well, if I may, something I admire about Jeff is usually Jeff is the spearhead for a lot of open-mindedness that he's preaching now. I mean, when Jeff was a psychology major school, and like after school, he worked at this place in Westchester for people with cerebral palsy and like kids with autism. He's always been a very gentle and open-minded person who looks past disabilities as well as impediments, and definitely the world needs more of that. The world needs more understanding of different abilities that people have, different backgrounds, cultures, everything. And especially the state of the country that we're in, more of that everyday acts of tolerance and love is vital for the human condition.
You know, and I just gotta say, if you're chilling with somebody who has a stutter or a speech impediment, don't interrupt them. If I'm rolling with Will and someone interrupts my boy, you're automatically
You don't have to cool it down.
You always get overhyped. It's okay. It's okay. I'm telling you right now, I don't ever want to be chilling with nobody who interrupts my boy. He has something important to say.
Oh my God.
Chill your patient ass out. Stop being so impatient. Find some tranquility in your spirit. Like, I'm tired of these motherfuckers. Like, fucking chill. Like, we were chilling with, like, I hated the real estate from. Like, this dude, like, kept interrupting Will, and Will was being so chill about it. I was like, yo, fuck this guy. Like, he is showing me a really good apartment, but I do not fuck with him. Like, I do not want to hear it. I don't want to see any part of that. I don't want to hear anybody tell me that like somebody is weird, like I will shit on everything about your character. Like I don't want to hear about it if somebody is different from you. Like that is my number one trigger. Like don't be that person. Flying Machine is out here fucking y'all's lives up if you're in college. Jeez, there's a lot of us. You heard it. There's like 12.
No, I don't fuck with that shit. I deal with too many people who have been like stepped on their whole lives for whatever reason that I'm just like, no, fuck no. Treat each other like decent fucking human beings and don't be an asshole.
Just don't be an asshole. Like, I mean, actually, I'm glad you brought that up because, like, I mean, to be absolutely honest, like that was like, I mean, statements that I just put up after Trump was elected. And it sounds futile just coming from a straight white kid, but at the same time, like I mean, I just said, no one can make these 4 years because it will be 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not going to be fucking 8 years. It's going to be 4 years. People are starting to wake up, hopefully. I mean, but and I don't mean to go political at the same time, but
I mean political.
Please go political. Please go political.
Hold on, Bill. Before you got here, Dallas went for like 20 minutes on porn.
Just the industry.
Dallas went for 20 minutes on porn. He was looking up websites on air.
Of course. So if you listen to this audio track of
audio tracks? I suppose Will. He's into the audio porn.
No, I'm talking about Dallas. I'm talking about Dallas searching audio tracks during the interview.
Porns, Will.
I don't know that world. I don't know that. But you're going to have to talk to Dallas. I don't know what it is. No, I mean, Dallas is a man of many hands.
Y'all see how I trigger every band member individually?
Oh, like this guy is like, oh my god. Anyway, so I just wrote after the asshole. Gotta like to just don't be an asshole. These next 4 years, just that's the best thing that anyone can do. Don't be an asshole and just shut out the people that are assholes. It's just not worth it. It's I mean at the same time it's frustrating because we do need to stand for things, plenty of things in this country, but I mean on a day-to-day basis, just don't be an asshole, Anyway, yeah.
If more people in this world took not being an asshole more seriously, I feel like we wouldn't have so many of the problems that we have. Right? It's not enough just to like casually not be an asshole. You have to be serious about it in order to fix the problems.
Yeah, it's true. True.
But it all really does just kind of boil down to like, don't be an asshole.
All right. Is there before? Because it seems like a good place to end this interview. Because honestly, we could probably sit here and talk all evening, but we have to cap our show at some point.
Probably.
I got till 8 and I'm watching the Knicks game. Shouts to Kristaps Porzingis.
Yay.
Best power forward in the league.
I think that's the first mention of sports outside of us talking about protests or something on the show. That's a first. That is a first.
There's many firsts today. We were the first band too, right? From New York or from outside. Oh.
Really from outside of Memphis. Everybody else that we have done, like I said, Ash is not based in Memphis anymore, but he's from Memphis originally. It's a Memphis
When did you
thing.
move out?
Say what?
When did you move out here?
A few years ago. He's been there for a few years. But yeah, if you dig back through our archives, like we've used his music a few times, and he's been on.
You will. I wonder when do you think this radio program will be available for listening? Or
Tomorrow. It'll be up tomorrow.
I have a question. What song of ours did you use?
Well, I haven't put that in yet, so if you have requests, please let me know.
Chill.
Yeah, chill.
Chill, probably.
Yeah.
It's a really nice emotional palette.
Nice. So I actually use two. So if you have, I'll play all of one, and then I'll play a segment from another one. So if
Play Funky Arrow, because that's the song I told the story about. So they'll be like, maybe Jeff's kind of a little too emotional. He should have done that first. Let the view decide on our art. And
Awesome.
message in, and then let's rekindle it in the group chat.
we really ought to do something like that. That's definitely an idea for a future show. All right. Also, any other musicians or bands that would like to come on? Hey, let us know.
Please let us know.
We got friends we could hook you up with.
Yeah, for sure.
Excellent.
New York musicians. So we
we
can send you some names.
That would be awesome. We are constantly on the hunt for people to have on.
It's really hard to find somebody new every week. It's hard.
I was going to ask that. You do it as a weekly podcast? Or
Yes, it's every week.
Oh, wow.
We got homies for days.
Awesome.
Yeah, anyway, please just remember, if you're at this point still listening to our conversation, that's awesome. Shout outs to you. Look at Subterranean EP. That's our new EP on SoundCloud, on YouTube. It's called Subterranean. You'll see a super funky cover drawn by Shanti Payne. Very beautiful artwork, very beautiful music. Tell you just, one group's perception of modern life and, searching for the meaning of love and what it is to be alive and, relate to other people in this world.
We have a website too, flymachinecollective.com.
Boom, boom!
Download the EP for free.
Machinecollective.com, y'all chill.
Awesome. We will make sure to have all you guys' links up in the description so our listeners can get to them quickly.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. It was a fantastic, I'll say this every time, but it's always true. One of the best interviews we've had. It was a pleasure having you on.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, for sure. It was a real honor, and especially since we're the first band outside of Memphis. That's a hell of a feat.
Yay. Thank you.
Thank you.
No.
All
right, calm it down.
All right. With that, we are going to end our interview section of this episode and move on into Esme's sex segment after the music. Enjoy.
to sleep with my demons, dance in my dreams. Pass around perceptions, found they ain't what they see. Bounce directions, have like 8 degrees. Got us divided in sections, sat patiently waiting. Looking at stars like a telescope, watch the crabs in the down. If everybody's special, that's like having an asshole. Ego seductive and sexy, secretly cast in the shadow. Cash a check for your passion, pass that rent to your family. Handle the meeting, see the seed and know it's a plan. The sweetest of the fruit be growing slow in the land. I got a need for something new, think my soul's getting met. Gotta release it through the views and use the flow to extract my mind from the situation and displace it. You've been on mine like all day, don't know how else to say it. How the music flows, you should've known. I ain't patiently waiting for a break, but for now let's break it down and it's the same thing.
It's been a long day. I need to rest my head. Take time to forget. Take time to reset. It's been a long life. No need to fight with it. Just let your light shine. Just let your light shine.
Welcome back to the sex segment. Thank you again to the Flying Machine Collective for being our guests and our featured artists this week. You guys have been awesome. And you all, I don't know how many of you now even, are joining us for the sex segment today, just because it is the highlight of my week when I get to like yell at somebody who doesn't know things about sex. I love yelling at people about sex. It's my favorite hobby. So thank you to those of you who all is here. Who all now is still here?
It's Dallas right now.
Okay. I was going to say, like, how many did we hang on to? So Dallas from the Flying Machine Collective is joining us for the sex segment. So to start us off, we have, this is another first for this episode, where we have, I got a question from a listener of this show who's been with us since the reboot.
And we have listeners.
We do have listeners. In fact, we have regular listeners. In fact, we should probably get a Patreon set up so that our listeners can like give us money, or something. I don't know. But a longtime listener of the show who sent me a message on Facebook and then graciously granted me permission to answer this question on the air because it's such a great question and I love it so much. So this listener sent me a message asking what kind of lube is good for anal intercourse, but also doesn't taste terrible. And so then I immediately went and tasted all of my lube, because that's how I'm a hands-on researcher. I don't know if you know.
Some things you can't outsource.
Huh?
I said some things you cannot outsource.
Exactly.
Get there and do it yourself.
So I went and taste tested all of my lube. I immediately had some opinions, but then I had to go taste test some things. And so first off, like, it got me thinking, like, what do you need in a lube that you're going to use for anal? And for my first instinct when I'm doing anything anal, like anal play, is silicone lube, because it lasts a long time and you don't have to reapply. It doesn't dry out. And so it's really good for anal for that reason. But silicone lube has a really bad tendency of just tasting terrible. It's like bitter and gross, and it's not good. And that's, I'm sure, why he was asking me this question in the first place. Is just because silicone lube does not taste good. It's a thing. And so my first instinct was coconut oil. Because coconut oil is really good. I really like it as a lube. It lasts a long time, but it dissolves into the skin eventually and doesn't leave a gross film like a lot of lubes do, to where like you feel slimy or sticky afterwards. And being coconut oil, it smells and tastes pretty, like, just kind of like mildly coconutty, right? It tastes like coconut oil. It doesn't taste bad at all.
It's like eating an Almond Joy.
No, it's not like eating an Almond Joy, because an Almond Joy would give you an infection probably. It's not that coconutty, but it's just like, it smells kind of coconutty, and it like tastes a little bit like it, but it doesn't taste bad, right? It tastes kind of neutral, but whatever. The one problem with coconut oil as lubricant, though, is that you cannot use it. It's not compatible with latex, and it's not compatible with polypropylene. So you cannot use it with most condoms. It breaks down the material that the condom is made out of, makes it more likely to break, makes it less effective as a barrier, which you don't want, right? Like, if you're going through the trouble to put on a barrier, like, you need it to stay effective. So that's an option if you don't need to use barriers, but if your practices call for barriers, the only kind of barrier that it's compatible with is nitrile. So if you're using an internal condom, that would work, but it doesn't work with traditional condoms. Even the non-latex ones, it doesn't work with. So that's a bummer. The butters, which is again, it's an oil-based lube. I have not tried it myself. It's on my to-buy list, but I have heard that it tastes and smells actually pretty pleasant. And so that, again, if you're looking for an option that is that you don't need to use with a barrier, like, that might be an option for you. Check it out. I'll put a link in the comments. But full disclosure, I have not taste tested every lube that's on the market right now, because that gets expensive, and also, like, I have a lot of sex, but not that much sex. Like, I don't need to buy a bottle of every single lube that's on the market.
If I could interject and just ask a question, do you think that you're taking into account the taste of the booty hole or the taste of the...
No, absolutely not. I'm not here to talk about anybody's bodies. I'm just talking about the lube itself.
Right, but I mean the lube as an accompaniment
like
to the booty
fluids,
hole, or as an accompaniment to the penis.
Right. Don't
I feel
bodily
like
fluids have a
it's like
consistent
mixing
flavor?
wine with different foods. Like, you wouldn't want a red with fish.
You know,
maybe you wouldn't want a silicone with a booty hole.
Right, it's like
basically he wants what lube goes with brown.
Right. What lube goes with brown? What lube goes?
I will be honest, I didn't factor that into my taste testing.
All right, that's why we have peer reviews.
Yes, so if any of you want to try this out and get back to me, I will happily put this in the notes for the episode.
This goes back to our ass eating episode a few episodes back.
Yeah, exactly. Right? But so like I said, I have not taste tested every single lube that's on the market. I don't actually like own any flavored lubes because I have found that flavored lube doesn't work well with my body, and so I don't buy it because I won't use it. So that is not a thing. If you are looking for a lube that is flavored and you know that your partner who like doesn't have issues with flavored lubes causing like imbalances, I know I have heard extremely good things about Sliquid's flavored lubes. The flavor is apparently very good, and they are tend to be less problem causing than a lot of flavored lubes. They don't have any silicone they don't have any glycerin in them, which is one of the things that is an issue for a lot of people. So if you're looking for a flavored lube, I have used a lot of Sliquid lubes. I have never had a bad one, so it's worth a shot. But speaking of Sliquid, I taste tested all of the lubes that I own. As I expected, all of the silicone lubes that I have tasted really bitter. It just is a characteristic of silicone lube. But the one that I found that I would recommend if you are looking for a barrier-safe lube that doesn't taste terrible, that's good for anal sex, is actually Sliquid Sassy, which is their lube that is designed specifically for anal sex. I mean, surprise, right? Mm-hmm. Turns out the lube that's designed for anal is going to be good for anal. It's a thicker formula, so it stays where it's put. It goes on in a thicker layer than a more like thin textured lube. It's water based, so it can eventually dry out, but it doesn't dry out as fast as a lot of the water based lubes that I use. And if it does dry out, you can add a little bit more, or you can just put a little bit of water on it. Because with the water-based lubes, like the water evaporates out of it, and it makes it and it like eventually will dry out and get kind of sticky. That's like that tacky thing when you have lube. That's because the water is evaporating. But I did taste test it, and it basically tastes like nothing. So it doesn't actively taste good, but it doesn't taste bad.
After sexual intercourse is complete, would you describe it as easy or difficult to push the lube out of the anus using the muscles of the sphincter? I mean, because I see, like removing from the vagina, there's like muscles there that really are good at pushing out. And you'd think that we poop all the time, so we should be having the same skills. But as someone who's never done it before, I was just wondering if it's as easy.
So I don't do a whole lot of I don't typically receive a lot of anal intercourse. Like that's just not a thing that I enjoy very much. But in my limited experience, first off, if you have enough lube in there that you need to push it out, I know that they say you can't use too much, but you might be using too much. Like if there's enough in there that you feel like you need to push it out, you might be using too much. Typically what I have experienced with anal play is it's kind of annoying to wash off of the outside, right? Especially with silicone lube, because it's kind of water resistant. It's hard to get off your skin. And so you just kind of feel slippery there for a while. So it feels weird to walk. My butt cheeks are sliding against each other in an unusual way. I'm not sure what to think about that, but okay. But then with the extent of what goes inside of you, really it just kind of makes you poop extra smooth for a couple of days. You're wow, that was really easy. So, yeah, I have not done a thorough study of it.
Sure. No, that's an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
The other thing I was wondering is if, let's say you're not quite prepared for anal sex, but, you're just thrust into a situation where it's time and you're looking for impromptu lubes. what kind of household objects, or lubricants could you use for anal sex?
The fuck kind of sex are you having, dude? That you're just like suddenly like in a position where you have to have anal sex?
You don't have to, but like you know how it is when you want to. And
when the mood strikes.
So.
The mood strikes. Coconut oil.
Coconut oil, would you...
But again, you can't use a barrier with it. So if you need to use a barrier, don't use coconut oil.
Not like aloe vera. You think that would be good?
No. No, don't use aloe vera. It won't stay slippery long enough. So oil-based, oils are slippery, right? Like that's a characteristic of oil. But water and silicone-based lubes are specifically designed with like substances that are like slippery, right? Aloe vera is not slippery. Like it's not designed to stay slippery. It's not gonna stay slippery in the way that you would need, right? Don't just put aloe vera on your junk and expect it to work. But yeah, so coconut oil, if you can't use a barrier, I don't know of any other household anything that would be safe to put in your body that would stay slippery in the way that you need it to be, that is barrier safe. So I guess I
was gonna say, what about vegetable lard, like vegetable? Yeah.
I mean, again, so most like vegetable oils, again, not sure if it's safe to put in your body. Like I would have to look that one up. But
I would assume that vegetable oil and vegetable lard is safe for body consumption, considering.
Yeah, unless like it ends up, I don't know. So it maybe it's body safe. Probably it's body safe, like to put inside of you. But again, the concern there being that you can't use it with a barrier.
I have to say, I just Googled this issue and I found a wonderful article called Bedroom MacGyver, Household Items You Can Totally Use as Lube.
Ooh, what does it say?
We're finding coconut oils a go.
Ta-da.
We're finding pure vegetable oil is 100% a go.
Mm-hmm.
Olive oil, grapeseed, avocado, and sesame oil are A-okay.
I really... Okay, sesame oil, though, has a really distinctive smell. Interesting. That's interesting. I guess if you want your sex to smell like you're in a Chinese restaurant, okay. Sure.
Exotic. And then you can collect the infused oils for cooking purposes.
Oh, Jesus.
Aphrodisiacs.
See, now I'm worried. Like collecting the oils for infusion. Now all I can think of is like General Soul's butthole. Like, get whole recipes now. Sweet and sour butt. Like,
no, but you can't do that because never mind. Whatever. There's different kinds of bacteria that you need to make sure.
True.
Actually, here it's saying that plain yogurt is a treatment for yeast and bacterial imbalances in the vagina.
What kind of natural ass website are you on?
It's the MacGyver of sex article.
Yeah, no, don't believe everything that's on that article.
Actually, that one yogurt is a good treatment for vaginal yeast. That one I've actually heard from a doctor.
So there you go.
But you don't have to put it inside you. You can just eat it.
I mean, yeah, you can eat it, but you can also put it inside you.
Or you could just eat it like
a
normal person.
Like you remember Head On, like the headache medicine? Head On applied directly to the forehead. Yogurt applied directly to the vagina. You know?
Jesus.
I think we found a slogan.
Christ. But yeah. But so I guess if you find yourself in a situation where you really like where you're gonna do some anal stuff, but you don't have any actual lube, you only have cooking oils, I guess you're doing hand stuff. Like, which, don't get me wrong, hand stuff is great. Love
An unappreciated
it.
art form, I think.
Huh?
Past 13 or 14 years old, I feel like people underappreciate the hand job.
So
in
much.
Current sexual
It is
society.
so underappreciated, right? Like it's talked about like it's this whole like it's this juvenile thing to do. But I have a partner where half the time that we are together, we don't even need to use a condom because like nobody's junk is going anywhere near each other because we're just doing hand stuff. And it's fucking amazing. It's the best sex ever. So good. Sorry.
You got,
I have feelings. I have feelings.
Good for you. Nice that you found somebody who can be in touch with you. It's a lot like playing music with each other, is being sexually in sync.
It really, really is.
Being able to hit the right.
Is.
We gotta have a talk.
Throw the accents in there.
Right, it's so much, and here's the thing, right, is it's so much easier to pay attention to what's actually working for your partner if you are not focused on what is working for you. Right, and that's a hella queer thing to do, right? Like, queer sex is super, take turns, right? It's a very like hetero thing to like expect that you're doing the same act like at the same time to each other and it's gonna work equally for both of you. Like, no, that's not how that works. Everybody's body is different. Everybody wants different things. Everybody has different stuff that works for them. And so why the fuck not like take turns doing exactly what you want for each other instead of doing a thing that mostly sort of kind of works for both of you at the same time. Like,
that's a good point. I've heard a lot. There's great criticism, and I definitely feel guilty myself for the fact that in heterosexual relationships, sex ends so often with the man ejaculating, and then that's the end of the intercourse. You know, then you just clean up, maybe cuddle, but
no, that's some fucking bullshit. Do better. Do better.
I want to do better, but it's almost like an accepted standard in relationships, and
which is some bullshit.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, here's a move. Here's a move that will be amazing. Which is before you get off, ask your partner what would feel good for you. Right. And that can be like a really intense thing to ask. So like, don't expect it to go perfectly the first time. But like, if you regularly are communicating that you're not just there for you, you're there for your partner and you want your partner to experience things that are amazing. Like, that's a huge deal. Right. And don't say what will get you off. Right? Because that's a huge amount of pressure too, especially if your partner's not used to getting off in partnered sex. Like, that's a huge fucking load of pressure now. Suddenly they're performing for you. No, you don't want that. But say, like, what would feel good for you right now? Like, what can I do to make you feel good right now?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, communication is key. Communication is absolutely key.
Yes. It's a whole thing. Sex can be so good if you learn how to communicate with each other. It's amazing. It's amazing.
I like the idea of the Kundalini and connected with sexual activity.
Ooh, now you have to educate me because I recognize that word, but I don't have it off the top of my head. What is that?
That's like it's part of the theory of spiritual medicine and stuff and energetic pathways in the body, that there is energies that collect at the base of the spine, and then, through your coaxing of mental state and, energetic auric control, you get that to rise. But in sexual situations, I'm a Reiki practitioner, so the way that works is you kind of try and channel the love of the universe in through the crown of your head, and then direct that energy.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times during sex, I really feel connected to that experience of feeling a great energy opening all from my base of my spine up to the tip of my head, and it's an expansive feeling. And that can be so much better than being lost in sexual fantasy. Going way back to our conversation about porn, I think that what ends up happening is it becomes such a mental exercise of imagination where you can be having sex with somebody and be in a completely different headspace than them because you're fantasizing rather than being in the moment, or trying to talk yourself into how good an experience it is instead of going deeper into the experience itself, and seeing what is actually there.
Yeah. And see, so as somebody who is in possession of a vulva, right? I have a little bit different, experience, right? Which is, so what you're talking about with this incredibly transcendent experience, I finally have got myself into a place where I can do that, but I can get myself all the way right up to it's incredible. It's absolutely fantastic, but I can get myself all the way right up into to the place where I am approaching orgasm, but I have to take myself out of the moment and find some kind of fantasy, some kind of mental image to allow me to bridge that and actually have an orgasm. Which is weird, but apparently that's pretty normal for people. It's just a variation in sexual experience, but.
And I think it underneath the feeling that experience of the orgasm is purely with you in that moment, and I think once we move past the mental images and the mental exercise, it's more of a pure experience.
Yeah,
because it's honest. It's really about being there with your partner and being receptive to their energies that are unleashing the you could call it the Kundalini, or that feeling of ecstasy that's so alive, so happening. We're following the most important mission of our genetic codes since the very first cellular organisms started doubling themselves. It's so deep in our biological programming. It's the ultimate spiritual reward. But that's natural, and I would always feel guilty about it because then it feels like I'm not with my partner. I'm someone else, and it doesn't help a healthy relationship. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I have sort of relaxed. I would for a very, very long time. So a lot of people who grow up as socialized as girls in America, right? I had a really fucking complicated relationship with my sexuality where at one point, on one hand, I felt it was my, I needed to use it somehow. But also I felt really guilty about even having sexual feelings. And so understandably I got really fucked up about it for a while. And so for years and years, the entirety of me having sex with a partner, I was retreating into this fantasy world that enabled me to sort of get in touch with my body and feel good about what was going on. And in the last handful of years, I've reduced that, which is really awesome, to where like now I'm actually like with my partner when I'm with my partner, which is incredible. And I have started to have really, guys, be aware, be present when you're having sex. You do not even understand how good the sex is when you are both 100% there and focused on the experience that you're having together. It's incredible. But still, like, I still find myself having to go into that fantasy place sometimes. But it's getting better. Sex is amazing. Sex can be really incredible. So.
Amen. Keeps the days nice and light.
Yep.
And happy.
Now if I could just stop my partners from moving across the country for me.
Well,
Shame.
hey, it's not just me, so...
I know, but you're the one who's here.
Did you guys used to be a thing?
Huh?
Did you guys used to be
No, we're still together. We've been together for like almost 2 years.
Oh wow. Long distance is tough.
Yeah. Well, Keem's only recently in Brooklyn.
This also might be a good moment to explain that we're poly.
Oh yeah, polyamorous. It's a thing.
Well, that makes it easier. That makes it a lot easier.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
That's-
Makes it a little less awkward that I'm here, like, talking about my partner with Keem right here. Yes.
That's good, guys. I admire that. That the lifestyle is free love. You know, it's our modern manifestation of free love. It's a beautiful thing, I think.
It really is. And it goes, I am discovering that it goes beyond just like having multiple romantic connections. It really is like, it's about finding the right place for every relationship in your life to where it really reduces the need to put every relationship that you have into a box, right? Like this person is a friend. This person is my partner. This person is my best friend, right? You don't have to, I worry a lot less about what box people fit into and more about like how we actually connect to each other and how we actually fit into each other's lives. So.
Yeah, traditional relationships, there can be a lot of undue stress and negativity just based off of jealousy and feeling possession and it can be really limiting sometimes, puts you in a box.
Yeah.
And that hurts a very, solid and pure relationship can really fall victim to terrible feelings at each other because no one's happy feeling like they're trapped. No one wants to be a caged animal.
Yeah. Weirdly though, like jealousy is a thing that like poly people like to talk about as something that doesn't ever happen. No, jealousy totally happens. Jealousy totally happens. But we just react to it differently. Right? Like I have one of my other partners, not Keem, but one of my other partners has a relationship, and Keem has a relationship with the same girl. So I share two partners with this girl who is amazing and she's fantastic and I love her. But with my other partner, weirdly, I have a lot of jealousy issues where I'm just like, I get really like kind of possessive and I'm like, what I get weird jealousy. And I'm like, instead of acting out on that, like, because I'm polyamorous, because I've learned this, like, I get to sit back and go, okay, well, why do I feel this? What is happening inside of me that I feel this in this relationship? And what do I need to ask for that can solve it? And it's just a matter of being able to identify what issues you have to where it's okay to be jealous. It's okay to feel jealousy. Jealousy is just an emotion like every other emotion. But being polyamorous has let me learn how to deal with that in a way that actually solves the problem and also like acknowledges the like independence and autonomy of my partner, right? It is not my partner's responsibility to fix my jealousy for me. I have to deal with that myself. And if I can ask my partner to do something for me, like, I can ask for that. But they don't have to change their behavior just to alleviate my jealousy.
It's mature. Because a lot of times in the relationship, it's the opposite way, or it's like, you definitely have to change your behavior, otherwise we can't have a relationship anymore.
Exactly. Like, I'm feeling jealous, so obviously you did something wrong. Right?
Yeah.
Like, that's fucked up.
It is fucked up.
Right. I'm learning that in that situation, I am feeling jealous means I worry that I am not important to you. And so then when I notice that I am feeling jealous about this relationship, I can say, hey, I am worried that I'm not important to you. And then my partner will tell me all of the reasons that I'm important to him. And then I feel better. And it's awesome.
Compassionate communication.
Yep. It's great. This got really off topic. I love it.
Sure. It's very interesting. I mean, it's a growing community, I think.
Yes.
Been hearing a lot about it recently.
Yeah, a lot of the mainstream media sources have picked it up lately. It's becoming a thing.
Do you feel like it's a permanent lifestyle choice, or is there like, it's hard to, I guess it would be hard to know if it's a way of life you'd like to live forever, or if there was ever somebody who came along who was so in sync that you didn't want to do it anymore. I guess, I don't know. What do you think about that?
I would be extremely surprised if I ever choose to be completely monogamous again. Where, like, I can see, I had this conversation with somebody else on this podcast, I think. I don't remember. But I can see myself in a place in my life where I'm not actively seeking out any new partners. Like, even if I only have one partner, like, it's plausible that I might, for whatever reason, not have the personal resources to have more than one relationship at a time. But I can't imagine that a time when I would never, ever be open to that at any point. Right? Like, I have found the one true relationship, and so I don't need any more relationships. That doesn't feel true to my experience. I should say that I have. So my partner who I live with, we've been together for like 11 and a half years. And we've been non-monogamous for basically all of it.
Wow.
So
how does it work if you're going out to see another partner? Are you like very upfront about that information?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like we've been non-monogamous for the whole of our relationship, which was kind of rocky at earlier on when we were young, right? Like we got together when we were like 19. So it was really rocky for a long time with learning how to communicate effectively about this. But we've been like openly and like actively actually polyamorous for like 2.5 years. And we don't hide anything.
Hell, we all hang out a lot.
Yeah, we do all hang out a lot. We don't hide anything. Like, for one reason or another, we may not disclose every single detail of every single interaction we have. But, like, we both know, like, when the other person has a date, who that date is with, and, like, he's not dating anybody new. He has one other partner that he sees semi-regularly. I've got 2 other partners who are both long distance. But we're like completely, like we both know the basics of each other's relationships, right? Like I don't sit him down and do a play-by-play of every single thing that I did with my partner when I was on this date with my other partner, but we don't hide anything. So
I mean, even with Esme and I, like, if I'm going out on a date,
yeah, I know every single person that you've dated, like, in Brooklyn, or I know of every single person you've dated in Brooklyn.
if we can call that dated, one date with like 5 or 6 people,
I still know it.
Yeah, the turnover rate out here, I hear, is pretty quick. With there's so many fish in the sea. If it's not a great connection, people will they ghost. They ghost now. That's what they call it.
They ghost like nobody's business. It's actually kind of infuriating.
That sucks.
You hear that? If you listen to the show, it's infuriating.
It's a super disrespectful practice. I mean, if you don't enjoy the time, just say so. It's all right.
See, I am very much in the camp of if you didn't enjoy it, say it, but don't like leave someone hanging, because it's hard. Like anyone, it's rejection is hard, but rejection is harder when you don't know.
Mm-hmm. Mind wanders and stuff.
Right. Like I said, and not to get off on my thing, but it's happened. I've been in Brooklyn 2 months. I've been out on like 6 dates. Out of those 6, 2 people still talk to me on a friendship basis, which is awesome. Like, friendship is awesome. But everyone else ghosted. Like, it seems ghosting is just one of those things that just seems so pointless when you can just communicate.
Sure. And especially with all the avenues of communication, you're actually putting in more effort to ignore somebody than just to be honest with them and yourself. So it's funny how people will especially people who are committed to the idea of traditional relationships, but they're not in one themselves. And then they're on Twitter, the dating applications, and they go out and they have a lot of meaningless encounters, whether or not they end up being sexually fulfilling. And I hear this type of lifestyle can be very draining, and very unfulfilling because they're not forming those connections, not really getting to know anybody. They're just like going through the motions and using people to satisfy their emotional needs.
Yeah.
This episode has taken so many turns.
It really has.
It's also bordering on 3 hours. So unless
it's 2 hours. We've been on the call for 3 hours.
Yeah,
but the episode itself is pushing 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
It's been very pleasant every moment of it.
It has.
It has. It's almost a shame. It's not almost a shame. It's a shame that we're going to have to cut it.
I'm not going to cut it that much.
Respect that.
Really?
No. What I'm saying is,
to stop.
This could go on for goodness knows how long, and our listeners would kill themselves.
I don't think that that's true.
Yeah, they'll just make another cup of tea. Be like,
no, they'd pour another beer. I know our listeners.
pour another glass of bourbon.
Yes, that also holds up. Love you, listeners. You guys are great. Thank you for sticking with us despite our nonsense.
All right. Well,
wow.
Was that our goodbye? Is that how we're gonna gracefully
we're gonna wrap this up.
Gracefully end our session?
I think so.
I think everybody wants to come in here and say goodbye personally to you guys.
Okay.
All right.
While marching in.
What
what's happening here?
Yo,
We're saying goodbye. Thank you. We'd love to hang out with you in person, Rakim. By the way, this is.
We'll definitely have to get together, and hopefully we'll get Esme up here too. So
one of these days.
And I mean, Rakim, if you're around Wednesday night, feel free to come by Wayward Social for that jam.
all right, I can try to do that. Depends on how class goes, because that's one of my long nights for class.
Right.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for having us, and have a great night.
It was a pleasure having y'all. Y'all have a just great night.
Thanks for being on. It was awesome.
Thank you guys for sharing. I feel like I learned a lot as well as heard some stuff. So that's.
I'm a teacher, so that's what I live for. I like to educate people.
Well, I hope we have some good, serious commentary and silly commentary and jokes and ideas about the music.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it'll be really good.
All right. Well, that looks like it brings us to the end of our show.
Yeah.
As always, there will be links to everything in the description. Once again, to all our listeners, if you are a musician who wants to come on our show, just like our guest today, and give your music out, we're here. If you're just anyone who's listening who wants to come talk with us about something, we're here. Just get in touch with us. We'd love to have you on.
Come talk nonsense with us.
Yes, come talk nonsense with us. As always, this has been Keem and Esme, and we are out.
But there are these things that matter, and they really fucking matter. There's like 4 things that matter, and they really fucking matter. I mean, objectively, I mean, you should care, especially you, if you thought about it for 5 fucking minutes.